ketika menjelang Ramadan dan Syawal.
Kadang-kadang mau ikut orang juga. Mau nak hari macam contohnya saya, mau nak kat esok puasa, hari tu mesti rabi. Tapi memang hari yang jadi rabi kan, pentingnya mikir hari tu puasa. Dan jadi kadang-kadang kami ada wajilan.
Menurutnya lagi, hasil jualan air bancuan ini sedikit sebanyak membantunya sekeluarga mendapatkan barang persiapan meraihkan Aidilfitri.
Baiklah, laporan itu tadi mengakhiri Awani Borneo untuk malam ini. Saya Jasmine Abu Bakar. Teruskan bersama kami. Assalamualaikum. Kita jumpa lagi.
Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. Malaysia and Germany have called for a lasting ceasefire in Gaza, the release of hostages, and immediate humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people. Malaysian Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and his German counterpart, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, said the international community must also push for a two-state solution to solve the decades of conflict in the Middle East.
Sometimes we have slight differences, but I think the thrust of the issues like the war in Gaza, we do agree, cessation of hostilities, immediate ceasefire, and accord humanitarian assistance to the people of Palestine, particularly in Gaza. Of course, we do acknowledge the concerns, what happened on 7th of October, but we also appeal to the Europeans and Germany in particular to take note of the fact that there have been 4 decades of atrocities, plunder and dispossession of Palestinians. So let us then move forward.
Anwar, who is in Berlin on a 6-day visit to Germany, held a bilateral meeting with Scholz, with the Gaza conflict among issues discussed. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim also took time during his working visit to meet with some 40 captains of industry at a roundtable discussion today, where he assures them of the government's commitment to making Malaysia one of the most attractive locations for investors. Astro Awani's Irfan Faruqi reports from Berlin.
Today, the main event and agenda for the Yang Berhormat Prime Minister is meetings with industry's captains, and I was informed that around 40 companies, among them are companies in semiconductor sector, in technology building, in medicals, and others are meeting with Prime Minister here in the hotel right behind me. And afterwards, there will be one-to-one session between Yang Berhormat Prime Minister and several of this captain industry. And as mentioned by MITI Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul, this one-to-one meetings, among others, is not just to push for more investment from a German company, but also to resolve any issues that might happening on the ground in Malaysia in order for this German company who have committed several billion ringgit in terms of investment to be realized as soon as possible. Of course, this investment is very important for Malaysia, not just in terms of the economic value, but also the value in terms of employment that it can give and training that it can give to Malaysian. And this is among the things that have been stressed out by the Prime Minister during the media conference with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, in which Malaysia appreciating every effort by German's company to invest more in Malaysia, and even the Chancellor himself has mentioned that that kind of cooperation will be increased as time goes on. And that's the first agenda for today. And afterwards, during the evening, the Prime Minister is expected to having iftar, breakfast with Malaysian diaspora here in Berlin. And what's interesting is there is a bit of hiccup because on part of Wisma Putra, they're expecting around 350 participants tonight. But here in Berlin today, there's a strike among operators, railway operators. So some of the participants who are coming far from Berlin, from Frankfurt, who need the 6 hours journey to come here tonight, might not be able to make it. But that report and updates will be given to AWANI from time to time. But that's all for today, and that's all.
In other news, the Attorney General's Chambers has yet to decide on dropping the 3 other money laundering charges against Datuk Seri Najib Razak in his SRC International case. In a case management today, Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Ashraf Adrin Kamarul reveals that the representation is still undecided.
Najib's lead counsel, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, had asked for the court to exercise its discretion and grant Najib a discharge not amounting to acquittal, as no decision had been made on representation that was filed last August. However, Muhammad Ashraf said they would proceed with the trial, initially scheduled to begin in September. High Court Judge K. Munyandi then granted the prosecution 2 months to prepare witness statements, with the next case management set for May 27th. Najib claimed trial to 3 charges of money laundering on February 3, 2019, and was accused of accepting proceeds from unlawful activities amounting to 27 million ringgit. He faces a maximum fine of 5 million ringgit or a jail term of up to 5 years or both if convicted.
Allegations of overcrowding in immigration detention centres are false, according to Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail. The Home Minister also refuted allegations of migrant and refugee abuse in a report by Human Rights Watch, saying the group had failed to provide evidence to its claims when asked.
Ada 20 depo immigration di negara kita. Kapasitinya 20,650 sehingga 7 Mac 2024 jumlah yang tinggal di depo immigration 13,635. Under capacity, jadi dakwaan Human Rights Watch punya report tertolak dengan sendirinya. Biar angka berbicara. Adakah sesak? Jawapannya tidak.
Following the release of the report, Saifuddin said the Parliamentary Select Committee on Human Rights, Elections and Institutional Reforms had summoned the Home Ministry, Immigration Department and Human Rights Watch to clarify the issue. However, it is understood that when the rights group was asked to identify the depots where the alleged abuse of migrants and refugees took place, they were unable to do so. Saifuddin said those held in immigration detention centres included those who had completed prison sentences and were awaiting travel documents, as well as those arrested for various offences under the Immigration Act. Myanmar nationals made up the largest number of detainees, followed by Indonesia, the Philippines, Bangladesh and Thailand.
Peninsula Malaysia and Sabah will see hot and dry weather over the next 7 days. The Malaysian Meteorological Department predicts that temperatures will exceed 35 degrees Celsius during this period.
In Sarawak, thunderstorms and heavy rain are expected to occur in the afternoon, continuing into the morning in some areas. Met Malaysia said its forecast was based on the weather model analysis, with concentrated winds expected in Sarawak until March 15th. It advised the public to refer to its website and social media platforms or download the My Cuaca application for the latest weather information.
We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back. On the international front, a ship has set sail for Gaza from Cyprus, carrying almost 200 tons of food. The mission, part of a pilot project attempting to open sea routes for aid to be delivered to Gaza's starving population, is being organized by U.S. charity World Central Kitchen and funded by the UAE.
The UN has warned that famine in Gaza is almost inevitable and children are starving to death. Israel denies impeding the entry of aid or its distribution inside Gaza and blames UN agencies on the ground for failing to get the aid that is allowed in to the people who need it. The charity ship Open Arms was seen sailing out of Larnaca port in Cyprus on Tuesday, towing a barge containing flour, rice and protein. The journey from Cyprus to Gaza, which is just over 322 kilometers northwest of Gaza, takes between 15 hours to 2 days, depending on the load. Tuesday's mission, if successful, would effectively signal the first easing of an Israeli naval blockade imposed on Gaza in 2007.
Meanwhile, the Indian government has moved to implement a controversial citizenship law that has been criticized as anti-Muslim. The law, which will allow non-Muslim religious minorities from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan to apply for citizenship, was passed in 2019. However, its implementation has been delayed following widespread protests and deadly violence.
The Citizenship Amendment Act was one of the key election promises of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling nationalist BJP party in the run-up to this year's general election. The law grants Indian citizenship to Hindus, Parsis, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains and Christians who enter India from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh before December 2014, but not if they are Muslims. Authorities said the law is only for those who have suffered persecution for years and have no other shelter in the world except India. Modi said Muslims are not covered by the legislation because they do not need India's protection.
Over in Thailand, the country's election commission says it will request the country's constitutional court to dissolve the Move Forward party. According to local media, the commission will also seek to disqualify executive members of the party, which won last year's general election.
The Election Commission said there was evidence that Move Forward had undermined the country's democratic system with the king as head of state. The move follows an earlier court ruling that found the party and its former leader, Pita Limjaroenrat, guilty of violating the constitution. This was due to their political campaign to amend the less majestic law, which carries a penalty of up to 15 years in prison for any perceived insult to the royal family. The party's predecessor, Future Forward, had championed similar policies. It was eventually dissolved by the Constitutional Court in 2020 for violating campaigning funding rules.
Yemen is grappling with a severe issue of landmines, with staggering numbers being removed, indicating the depth of the humanitarian crisis in the country. Usama Al-Ghosaibi, Managing Director for Landmine Clearance at Project Masam, an initiative supported by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, highlights the gravity of the situation.
Al-Ghosaibi stated that the scale of landmine removal surpasses any other region globally, which underscored the immense humanitarian challenge facing Yemen. Since its inception in June 2018, Project Masam's demining teams have successfully cleared 433,330 landmines, unexploded ordnance, and improvised explosive devices across the nation. This includes both anti-personnel mines and anti-tank mines. However, the exact total of mines removed remains unknown, as multiple organizations are involved in similar initiatives, and their statistics are not consistently published. Moreover, Al-Ghosaibi voiced apprehension about the continuous planting of mines in areas yet to be liberated.
We are in a race in Yemen. That is one of the problems we have in Yemen. As we clear mines, Al-Houthi militia keeps planting new mines. So it is a race. We've cleared so many mines so far, but we know that planting new mines is still going on by Al-Houthi militia. So The final number of mines in Yemen will never be known until one day, and I hope one day, Yemen becomes free of all mines.
The Saudi Arabian government launched Project Masam in October 2017 as part of its broader efforts to assist the people of war-torn Yemen. To date, the kingdom has allocated approximately $200 million for this endeavor, drawing on the expertise of both local Yemenis and foreign specialists.
That is all we have for you on Awani Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Saraya Mia, and we'll see you again.